Welcome into the Inside Scoop. We are live from Nashville, Tennessee, and today is Sunday, February 23rd. I am your host, as always, Josh Newberg, and this week, we have some legitimate recruiting news that went down over the weekend. Big news, actually. So today, we're going to be here to talk about it. Top quarterback Jared Curtis cut his list down to 2. So on this show, we're going to have experts from Georgia and Oregon. Also, we're going to talk some Ohio State Buckeye recruiting as well. A monster show, but first, college football recruiting over the weekend went crazy. So in this video, we're going to talk about the biggest recruiting developments. But before we get into it, you guys do me a favor real quick. Smash that subscribe button. Look at this. We're almost to 100K, and I think we can get there. Hit subscribe for me, please. All right, let's start. USC takes Oregon's quarterback. Lincoln Riley got his guy. The Trojans over the weekend landed the #1 player in the state of Illinois, but it wasn't easy. Jonas Williams has been committed to the Oregon Ducks since August of 2024, but Riley and the staff at USC made him a priority. They got him on campus 3 weeks ago, and that, to me, that was the turning point of this recruitment because rumors started swirling after that visit that a flip was in the works. And it didn't take long for Jonas to make it official. On Friday night, it was done. USC got his commitment and now has the #2 ranked class in the country. But they're not done. They are trending for a bunch of their top targets. It is going to be a red-hot summer for USC recruiting. All right, #1 quarterback cuts his list down to 2. If you're the #1 quarterback, who are you playing for? You going to pick Dan Lanning or Kirby Smart? Because that is just what #1 quarterback in the country has on his plate right in front of him. 6'4.5", rocket for an arm, already committed to Georgia for a couple of weeks, decommitted after realizing he made a decision a little too early. Now 5-star quarterback Jared Curtis, who's out of Nashville, Tennessee, has cut his list. He had well over 3 dozen offers down to a final 2. Is it going to be the Ducks? Or is it going to be the Dogs? He made this final 2 announcement with Hayes Fawcett on Friday. You guys tell me what you think. Is he going to be headed to Eugene or is he going to be heading to Athens? Alabama is heating up. The Tide finished with a top 3 class in 2025, but fans think that they got off to a relatively slow start in 2026. I mean, we've had Bama fans in the comment section asking, when is it going to heat up on the trail? Well, this weekend, Kalen DeBoer went out and landed 2 elite recruits. 2 elite recruits from the state of Georgia. Top 200 edge Jamarian Matthews from Gainesville, Georgia, and offensive lineman Chris Booker, who goes 6'4", 285 out of Atlanta, Georgia. Alabama went from unranked heading into the weekend to now sitting at a very respectable #11 overall after a busy weekend of commitments. All right, Michigan. Trending for elite running back. Why? Because Michigan insider E.J. Holland dropped a huge prediction in favor of the Wolverines. Michigan has always been a force on the trail, but with the recent strengthening of their NIL efforts, Michigan is a heavyweight on the trail now, which is why they're going to be able to go into a state like Texas and land one of the best. The Wolverines are now trending for top 100 back out of Forney, Texas, Javian Osborne. What happened? Over the weekend, the family canceled their official visit to Texas, and Texas was seen as Michigan's biggest competition in this recruitment. So with no visit on the books, it looks like Osborne is now Michigan's to lose. No date on a decision, but Michigan is sitting pretty. All right, Zion Ely's recruitment is quote-unquote closed, according to a report from Hayes Fawcett. Quote, I'm home. No need to explore, Ely said. The #1 recruit in the 26 class was set. He was going to take visits to Ohio State, Auburn, Penn State, Texas A&M, and South Carolina. But over the weekend, Zion Ely shut down his recruitment and canceled those visits. Still a long way to National Signing Day, but it's sounding good for Mike Locksley and the Maryland staff. Like I said, long way to go, but canceling the visits and shutting it down, that is a big move for the #1 edge in America. Like I said, a lot of developments this weekend. I mean, we didn't even get to the fact that Chris Henry Jr., Ohio State commit, has taken out all mentions of Ohio State from his bios. Pictures are still there, but the bio clear of Ohio State commitment. So, like I said, we didn't even talk about that. But let me know about the other developments that we just spoke about. What do you think was the biggest news from a busy weekend? Let's talk some Georgia Bulldogs recruiting with big news this weekend that number 1 quarterback Jared Curtis is down to a final 2, and the Dogs make the cut for the 6'4 QB out of Nashville, Tennessee. Now, in this video, I got UGA insider Rusty Manziel, and we're going to find out who is the favorite to land 5-star Jared Curtis. But before we get going, Georgia fans, do me a favor and hit subscribe to the On3 Recruits channel. This is the best recruiting channel on all of YouTube, and we need Dog fans to be a part of it. All right, let's bring on Rusty Mansell, Dogs HQ, and we're talking Jared Curtis. Dogs make the cut for the number 1 quarterback. Rusty, why Georgia? Why are they a finalist?
Georgia's been in this thing, I would say, for lack of a better term, Georgia's been pot committed for almost a year now. You know, I mean, when everybody was talking about Juju Lewis and Georgia was kind of recruiting him, I felt like behind the scenes that Mike Bobo and Kirby Smart and those guys kind of went all in on Jared Curtis, even when those two were in the same class. And it meant a lot to his family. And ultimately, you know, he committed it, you know, early on to Georgia, I think, because of that. So, you know, I think Georgia's been in this thing for a long, long time. There's a great relationship with the family. And I've told people on Dogs HQ, I know there was visits scheduled to Auburn. I know there was visits scheduled to South Carolina. There was some talk to Ohio State. Behind the scenes for a while, this has been a 2-team race. It just became public this week, Oregon and Georgia.
All right. So who are you giving the edge to right now?
You know, this one goes back and forth. You know, Steve Wilfong and I talk every week. And this is the one thing that I've kind of been consistent with. There's a lot of pro-Georgia behind the scenes in his corner. Now, it doesn't mean this is going to be the final decision because this is a big boy recruitment. I think the proximity of Athens to Nashville does not hurt Georgia at all, but do not think for 1 minute that Oregon is not selling who they are, their program, their quarterbacks, what they've done, those types of things. This was not going to be a discount. So, you know, people are like, hey, you know, you're going to get outbid. This is not a discount recruitment here. This is a big boy recruitment. Both teams, both schools. He has an agent. He has a whole team around him, like most of these high profile kids now. Yeah. So, when you look at this thing, I do think these last visits are going to be important. I'm interested to see if he takes more unofficials before these officials. I'm interested to see if he gets to each campus one more time to spend some quality time, watch spring practice, that type of thing. That might tip his cap a little bit.
Yeah, he's got those June official visits to Oregon and Georgia. I got to imagine, knowing how many visits he took last year, that he's going to hit the road in March and, you know, April and go see some schools. So we got to imagine that there will be some times on campus. Now it'll be interesting to see, does he make it to Georgia more than he makes it to Oregon because of proximity and all that? That's yet to be seen. But any idea on when he could actually make a final decision?
You know, just being in this business for a long time, and I know he's got these visits set for June, man, I can't imagine the amount of phone calls. Not only does he get from reporters, not only people reaching out to him, trying to get access to him, these two coaching staffs, it's every day. I mean, there's everyday communications. And my experience, guys that face that recently, I don't think he makes it to June. That's why I think I'm very interested to see if he goes anywhere in March and April when these things open up. Because I'm telling you, you wait until June, he's going to deal with a lot of phone calls, and a lot of people trying to get access to him for news. So we'll see. But I know this. He's been on both campuses multiple times. I don't know what else he can hear from staffs. I mean, you know, he's got an agent that handles the financial part of this deal. He's going to know all the answers, I think, personally, to what he wants to know before June. We'll see. My gut feeling is right now this one don't make it to June.
Who are the other quarterbacks on the board right now for Georgia?
I think Landon Duckworth's a kid that Georgia Mike Bobo went and saw him twice. That's a very athletic kid, man. I'm watching some of his basketball highlights. It's crazy. I think Dia Bell's a kid, you know, out of American Heritage. I know he's committed to Texas. Mike Bobo went down there pretty quickly in South Florida. Kirby Smart went by the school. You know, a damn good dog, as people call him, Sony Michel. He's back down there, you know, doing some stuff with American Heritage. I know he was there for the Milton game. last year. That's not going to hurt him. Tyson Campbell, those kids out of that high school. So Georgia has some connections. You look at James Coley, T-Rob, those guys are really strong in South Florida. So, Georgia is they're not just completely all in on Jared Curtis, but they are recruiting other people. But you want to mention some other names. I think those guys I would be confident in saying are pretty high on their board as well. I love Duckworth. Now, I'm telling you, the more he's an athletic guy and he spins it around and all that. But, man, the way the college football game is today, athletic guys that can make plays off platform, hurt you the legs. I like him as well.
Yeah, Ole Miss heavily involved there, FSU heavily involved there, Georgia getting
South Carolina,
going, so we'll see. That is a hot recruitment.
Yep.
Speaking of hot recruitments, let's wrap it up with this. Javari Flowers gave us big news the week of National Signing Day in February. He said, I'm reclassifying. He was a top corner in 2026. He is now going to make a decision in the 2025 class. Javari Flowers, give me the latest. He's from Miami Northwestern.
Yep.
He's going to make a decision here at the end of March, I believe. Where do you think Georgia stands? Who's the biggest competition?
First of all, I love him already. He says he's committing at a local lounge. I mean, sign me up for that guy already. I like that. He's going to take an OV to Georgia in mid-March. You're going to get a chance in him. And the same reasons I said about South Florida, you look at James Coley and you look at T-Rob, the connections those guys have and the success they've had in South Florida. I think that puts Georgia in this thing. Georgia's looking for definitely, some corner help. This guy reclassifies, from what I see and what I've heard, tough ass Miami Northwestern kid, man, you can't get enough of those guys that know how to play down there. And, it's high level competition and, Georgia will get a swing at this thing. Obviously Miami's going to be a team you're going to have to watch locally, but Georgia's going to take a swing here and been a little bit of momentum with Georgia, I think, behind the scenes. Not ready to say he's going to Georgia, but I do think they're a serious threat here.
All right. Well, we got a lot on our plate. Georgia fans, talk to us. How are we feeling about number one quarterback Jared Curtis? Do you think he's a dog in the end? And when do you think he ultimately makes that decision? Let us know. Let's talk Oregon Ducks recruiting because it has been a crazy weekend for Oregon. On Friday, news that top 10 quarterback Jonas Williams was flipping his commitment from Oregon to USC. But fear not, Duck fans, Dan Lanning has a plan, and we got Oregon insider Max Torres from Scoop Duck on this video. He's going to break down how Lanning and his staff got their eye on the real prize, and that's number one quarterback Jared Curtis. But first, Oregon fans, do me a favor. Hit subscribe to the On3 Recruits channel. This is the best recruiting channel on all of YouTube, and we love talking Oregon recruiting. So jump on board for me. All right, let's bring in Max Torres from Scoop Duck. And before we get to Jared Curtis, I need you to settle a debate right here in the comment section that has been raging since Friday. Did Oregon let Jonas Williams go, or did USC flip him? Please settle this for us.
This is always that trending question after a big flip like this, especially between two rivals, right? And really, I don't think this is a situation of Oregon letting Jonas Williams go. You don't let a top 10 quarterback leave. I don't think that was a situation that we're looking at here. And just off of that, I think you got to give USC some credit here because they did a good job making sure that they were staying on Jonas Williams. I know that Lincoln Riley went out to the state of Illinois to go visit Williams' school during the January contact period, as did Oregon here. I don't think Oregon made any bad moves in this recruitment. They were doing what they were supposed to, but USC has done a great job recruiting quarterbacks. So I think you have to give them their flowers when it's due. He went out for that junior day visit in Los Angeles. I don't believe he made the Oregon junior day, which was just the weekend before that. So that this is a big commitment for Lincoln Riley and the Trojans. The Ducks and the Trojans are battling neck and neck at number one spot. And I think the biggest thing I would just want to say coming out of this is I think that Chad Bowden played a huge deal in USC being able to get this one done. Obviously, the new big hire from the front office coming over from Notre Dame. He's a Midwest guy. Jonas Williams is a Midwest guy. So, I cover Oregon, but I got to give people props when it's due. And that was a great job by the Trojans.
All right. I'm sure that settles the debate in the comment section. I'm sure you just figured it all out for them. All right. But that clears way for maybe what the main event here. Number one quarterback Jared Curtis is down to a final two. It's Georgia. It's Oregon. Max, how did Oregon make the cut as a finalist?
Oregon's done a great job staying in the mix here with Jared Curtis. I want to say he visited in the spring of last year. They got him back on campus for the game against Maryland in November, and they've just stayed the course here. And I'm pretty sure that they went out to go see him during the January contact period as well. Not everybody is super active on posting all those visits on social media, right, Josh? But we know that with how big of a priority Jared Curtis is for Will Stein and the rest of this Oregon offensive staff, that it makes sense to reason that they made sure to get out and see him at some point during that January contact period. So they've really just stayed consistent here. They've gotten him on campus for a couple of visits. They've kept strong communication with him throughout the whole process. And I think that they've always let him know that he's got a spot out there in Eugene should he want it. And I don't think that there's much of a coincidence at all here that Jonas Williams flips on Friday. And then right on the heels of that, we got Oregon in some positive headlines battling Georgia here for the number 1 quarterback in the 2026 class.
Yeah. So it's early. We don't know when he's going to make the decision, but right now with the news coming out that he's down to 2, who are you giving the edge to?
That's a really good question. I think with Jared Curtis, I'm going to give Oregon the slight edge here just because we've seen this Jonas Williams development coming for a little while now. So I know that the staff has been diligently working behind the scenes, and the buzz for Jared Curtis in Oregon has never really died down throughout this entire process since he decommitted from Georgia. I can't remember exactly when that happened, but I knew that happened. And then he named Oregon his leader. And It seems like the buzz has really only gotten stronger for Oregon and Jared Curtis. And even though the Ducks lost a top 10 quarterback in Jonas Williams, I think that they're still just about as hot as any program in the country now nationally. I think we also have to talk about the NFL Combine, which comes up later this month. The Ducks are going to send a program record 12 prospects to Indianapolis, to Lucas Oil Stadium to take their shot at the NFL. So I think having Dylan Gabriel out there, he might surprise some people. And what Will Stein has done with quarterbacks these past couple of years has been pretty undeniable.
Yeah. All right. So you're giving it to Oregon right now. Now, we know that he's got these summer official visits, 1 to Georgia, 1 to Oregon. What do you think the Ducks need to do between now and that summer official visit to secure this top spot in his recruitment? On3 is honored to announce the next stop of the Next Greatest Generation Tour at Prospect High School in Mount Prospect, Illinois. In partnership with the Army National Guard, we are proud to recognize Prospect High School as a Team of the Year for their unwavering commitment to community service and leadership. The Prospect Knights have made it their mission to positively impact their community through countless service initiatives. The team has embraced the responsibility of giving back, offering players opportunities to serve and consistently highlight their efforts to inspire others. Whether it's through volunteering, mentorship, or outreach programs, the Knights have shown that leadership extends far beyond the game. Their dedication to making a difference reflects the true spirit of the next greatest generation. So please join us in congratulating Prospect High School on this well-deserved honor, and we look forward to celebrating the Knights and their incredible contributions this Tuesday in Mount Prospect as part of the Next Greatest Generation Tour.
I think between now and then, you just got to stay the court. I mean, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but I think consistency for a prospect of his caliber plays a really big role. And you want to continue building this 2026 class. I think you got to recruit the heck out of some of these receivers that they are recruiting. You're looking at Chris Henry. You're looking at Caden Dixon-Wyatt, 2 of the best in the country from modern day. They're both going to be taking official visits out to Oregon. Yeah. So maybe it would help Oregon if you get a receiver commit or 2 before then and try to shore up the trenches a bit more with some of these big offensive linemen that they're after. Jackson Cantwell, Emmanuel Ahianacho. So there's a lot of guys that you can bolster this class with, but just making sure that you are keeping in that strong communication with Curtis and making all the right moves as a program. I think that's about what you can do right now.
Is it imperative? And I guess I asked this because of location. Nashville to Athens is about 3.5, maybe 4 hours on a high traffic day. So we got to imagine that he's going to make it to a spring practice or 2 in Athens. So is it imperative that Oregon gets him on an unofficial this spring before that OV?
I would say so. I think that would certainly help their case. Along those lines, I think it helps that as of right now, Oregon's supposed to get him on campus for an official visit before Georgia. And then it becomes that debate of, do you want the first visit, the last visit? What's most beneficial? I think that the popular answer to that question is that you want the last visit closest to the decision. And that obviously bodes well for Georgia. But maybe for Oregon here, because they are so far across the country, they don't want to waste any time and they want to get him back on campus. Like, hey, let's try to lock this one down. Maybe we look at a situation where it goes so well that he just pulls the trigger and commits after the official visit and doesn't even make it back to Athens. That's not what I'm being told, but I think that all possibilities are on the table now, and there's still a lot of good runway in this recruitment.
All right, so what other QBs are on Oregon's board right now?
Right now in the 2026 class, you're mainly looking at Jared Curtis and Ryder Lyons, the elite quarterback out of Folsom, California, Northern California. This dude is must-see TV every Friday night, Josh. I've seen him in person a number of times, and he's just got ridiculous arm talent, is incredibly gifted, and I've been told that this is a guy that Oregon thinks they can go win a national championship with. So they've done a tremendous job recruiting both Ryder Lyons and Jared Curtis in the 2026 class, but we know there's obviously that wrinkle with Lyons planning to take that mission trip. But we got Oregon, and then I also see BYU and Ole Miss as two big programs at the forefront of his recruitment. He got some new offers from Ohio State, North Carolina, Arizona in the month of January. So those are some programs to keep an eye on. I think that Ryder Lyons recruitment has been one with a lot of twists and turns. I know that USC was the presumed leader at that point. They have my RPM pick right now, but I think that I would probably think that Oregon has a really good shot there with Ryder Lyons, who may be kind of a de facto 2027 quarterback just with his timeline. But everyone wants Ryder Lyons, and I know Oregon's right at the top of that list as well.
What type of impact would landing a Jared Curtis type recruit have on Oregon's already number one ranked class?
It'd be huge. It obviously really helps to have an elite top tier quarterback to kind of build your class around and serve as the face of your class. But I can't really say build anymore because they already have 9 commitments here in February. So they are off to a tremendous start here in the 2026 cycle. I think that's a big difference from previous years that I've seen covering Oregon, is their ability during the 2025 cycle to recruit 2 classes simultaneously. And now they're at a point where you got to keep your guys in the fold. Obviously lost one in Jonas Williams, but if you can keep those guys in the fold and then be selective and add some really elite talent like a Jared Curtis or a Ryder Lyons, you're looking pretty good.
Yeah, honestly. Oregon fans, talk to Max and I. Who do you think Jared Curtis is going to pick? Is he going to be a dog or is he going to be a duck? Let us know. Comment section below. Let's talk some Ohio State Buckeye recruiting. Yeah, we're in the middle of a dead period right now, but there is still some action that I want to speak on right now. Top recruits are locking in official visits with the Buckeyes, and we got a few big names to go over. But before we get going, Ohio State fans, do me a favor. Look at this. I don't want to jinx it, but we're almost to 100K, and I think you guys can help us get there. Hit that subscribe button for me. All right, so official visit season. It starts at the end of May and it runs through June. So about 4 to 5 weeks of just craziness on the recruiting trail in Ohio State. During this period, I expect them to host close to or over 50 official visitors. So we've got a few big names that I want to give you a little preview on, and there's going to be some star power in Columbus this summer, starting with the number 1 running back in America, the weekend of May 30th. Now, this is going to be a big weekend. I'm going to talk about some of the bigger names and then move on to the next, but Savion Hyder is going to be in Columbus. He is the number 1 overall running back in America. He goes 5'11", 190. He can do it all. Number 21 best prospect overall. Also that weekend from New Orleans, Jabari Mack, one of the top wide receivers in America. So Ohio State wasting no time. As soon as official visits open, they are going to have a massive weekend on May 30th. Let's move to the weekend of June 6th. This is headlined by a pair of top 150 recruits, starting with Jonathan Hatton Jr. from the state of Texas. He's the number 5 ranked running back in the country. He goes 6'1", 205 pounds. Power, speed, he just brings it when he steps on the field. Also, big man Adam Guthrie. Get this. He goes 6'7", 280 pounds. He's from Washington Courthouse, Ohio. And Ohio State has competition here, and it comes from Clemson. But I think that weekend that they get him on campus is going to be massively important. Let's move on to the weekend of June 13th. So we are getting into the heart of summer visit season. And it's no surprise, another number one player at his position. This time, it's safety Blaine Bradford. He's 6'1", 195 pounds from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. The number one ranked safety in America, top 20 player overall. He's 6'1", 195 pounds. He's going to be on campus headlining the weekend of June 13th. Also, in-state linebacker Sincere Johnson. I really like this prospect. He's a linebacker from Glenville High School down there in Cleveland that goes 6'3", 235 pounds, the number 3 player in the state. He's going to be on campus. We'll see if the Buckeyes can lock that one down over the weekend. All right, that weekend, though, there's going to be, I expect, maybe upwards of 10 to 12 prospects on campus for official visitors. Let's move to June 20th. Now, this will end up probably being the headline weekend for the summer for the Ohio State Buckeyes because you can already start to see it. Wide receiver Chris Henry Jr., the 5-star commitment from Mater Dei High School in California, is going to be on campus for an official visit. And I have a feeling, because Oregon, USC, they're not giving up with Chris Henry Jr., and they are going to probably get him on campus. But I think this official visit, the weekend of June 20th, will really quiet things down. I expect by the time June rolls around, there's going to be teams that feel optimistic about where they stand with Chris Henry Jr., but in the end, this official visit, I think, is going to probably calm the water, shut things down, and quiet it down for the rest of the summer. So who else will be in Columbus for that final weekend? Well, nothing is officially scheduled yet, but a couple names I'll give you to watch for. Maybe Jackson Cantwell, the number 1 overall prospect in America. He is already scheduled a March unofficial visit to Ohio State, which I think is vitally important. We've talked about it on the Inside Scoop. And I think during that March unofficial visit, I think the official visit gets scheduled then. I think that when they sit down with his parents and go over some things, I think they lock in that official visit. Another prospect I would keep an eye on is number 1 edge Zion Ely. Yes, he's committed to Maryland, but that's okay. I think getting Zion Ely on campus, and he said that he is going to visit Ohio State. He just hasn't locked in a date. But I think getting him in on that final official visit weekend would be huge. One more name I'm going to give you that I think would be a good get on that final official visit weekend is elite offensive tackle Felix Ojo out of Texas. He has said an official visit will happen last weekend at the Dallas Under Armour. He also said, quote, Texas and Ohio State are right there at number 1 and number 2. So you can tell where the battle lines are being drawn. Another classic Ohio State versus Texas battle. Ohio State has won plenty of these. Texas has won plenty of these. We'll have to see who dukes it out for Felix Ojo. So we're expecting many more visitors to be in town. Number 1 DB, Elbert Hill. He's a major priority. He's from Akron, Ohio. Bama, USC, Oregon, Ohio State, all involved for him. I think he's another one that we see on one of these big visit weekends. But it's still early. This is just a glance of what's to come for what will be an exciting summer for the defending national champions.